What person got a teen pregnancy that really surprised you? Maya Carter was the last student I expected to see pregnant. She had a 4.2 gigapascals, captain of the debate team, already accepted to 3 Ivy League schools. When she came to my office that Tuesday morning and told me she was keeping the baby, I thought my job as guidance counselor was to help her figure out how to tell her parents. But Maya's reaction was nothing like what I expected. She didn't seem worried about her parents at all. She seemed terrified of something else entirely. Her hands were shaking as she asked me not to tell anyone yet. Not the principal, not the school nurse, nobody. Just give her a few days to handle it herself. I told her I was required to loop in the administration for support resources, and that's when she started crying. Not normal teenage pregnancy tears, the kind of crying that comes from pure fear. She begged me to wait just 48 hours before filing any paperwork. Something in her voice made me agree, even though it went against protocol. The next day, I noticed Principal Harris watching Maya in the hallway. He wasn't looking at her with concern like you'd expect. He was watching her the way you'd watch something valuable that might try to escape. During lunch, I saw the school nurse Dana pull Maya into her office. Through the window, I watched Dana place her hand on Maya's stomach in a way that felt wrong, too familiar, too possessive. Maya stood completely still, like she was afraid to move. That afternoon, Coach Bradley stopped me in the parking lot. He asked if Maya had mentioned anything important to me lately. The way he phrased it made my skin crawl. Not, is Maya okay? Or, does she need help? But whether she'd mentioned anything important, like he was fishing for specific information. I lied and said we'd just discussed college applications. His smile didn't reach his eyes. He said if she did mention anything, I should let certain people know right away. For her own safety, he added. I started paying closer attention. Maya's phone buzzed constantly during our next meeting. Texts from numbers she wouldn't let me see. She'd flinch every time someone knocked on my door. When I asked about the baby's father, she went pale and said I didn't want to know. Thursday morning, I arrived early and saw something that made me stop in the hallway. Principal Harris, Coach Bradley, and Dana the nurse were meeting in the conference room with 2 people I'd never seen before. One was a woman in an expensive suit taking notes. The other was an older man who looked like a lawyer. Through the glass, I saw a folder on the table with Maya's name on it. They were discussing her like she was business to handle, not a 17-year-old student who needed support. When they noticed me watching, Harris immediately stood up and closed the blinds. I went to my office and started going through old files, looking for anything unusual. That's when I found it. 3 other students over the past 5 years, all straight-A students, all got pregnant their junior or senior year. All of them transferred to a private school upstate called Meadowbrook Academy after their first trimester. I looked up Meadowbrook Academy. No website, no public information, no reviews, just an address in a rural county 3 hours away. When I called the number listed, a recorded message said the school was closed to visitors and operated on referral only. Maya's 48 hours were almost up, but I couldn't shake the feeling that filing official paperwork would trigger something bad. I called her cell, but it went straight to voicemail. I drove to her house after school, but her mother answered and said Maya was at a special appointment and wouldn't be back until late. What kind of appointment? I asked. Her mother's face went blank, like she was reading from a script. A wellness check for the pregnancy. They're taking very good care of her. Friday morning, Maya's desk and homeroom was empty. I went straight to Harris's office and demanded to know where she was. He leaned back in his chair and explained that Maya's parents had decided to enroll her in a specialized program better equipped for pregnant students, Meadowbrook Academy, where she'd receive proper prenatal care and continue her education. I asked why I hadn't been consulted since I was her guidance counselor. Harris smiled, and that's when I realized what I'd stumbled into. Because you're not part of the program, he said. The rest of the story is on my channel or linked below. Because you're not part of the program, Harris repeats, leaning forward in his chair. His eyes are cold, calculating. Not the eyes of an educator concerned for his student. I feel sick. What program? Maya is my advisee. I have a right to know. You have the right to do your job, Miss Chen. Your job is to counsel students on college applications and academic issues. Maya's situation is specialized. He straightens a pen on his desk. The Meadowbrook program is designed for exceptional students who find themselves in delicate situations. You mean pregnant? Harris's smile tightens. I mean students with specific needs that our district isn't equipped to handle. Meadowbrook provides academic continuity alongside medical care. Without consulting her guidance counselor, that's against protocol. Protocol. He says the word like it tastes bad. Let me be clear. Maya's parents have made their decision. The paperwork is signed. The transfer is complete. I stand my ground. I'd like to speak with Maya. That won't be possible. Harris stands up, signaling our conversation is over. And Miss Chen, I'd advise you to focus on your remaining students. Pursuing this further could jeopardize your position here. We value your work, but there are lines that shouldn't be crossed. The threat hangs in the air between us. Back in my office, I search Meadowbrook Academy online. Nothing but a bare-bones listing with a P.O. box address and the same phone number I called yesterday. No website, no social media presence, no reviews from parents or students. For a school supposedly specialized in helping pregnant teens, they're remarkably invisible. I try Maya's cell again, straight to voicemail. Maya, it's Miss Chen. I'm worried about you. Please call me back as soon as you can. I just want to know you're okay. After school, I drive 3 hours to the rural address listed for Meadowbrook Academy. The GPS leads me down increasingly remote roads until I reach what looks like an abandoned office building surrounded by overgrown fields. The only sign of life is a security booth and a chain-link fence topped with barbed wire. Security cameras swivel to track my car as I approach. This doesn't look like any school I've ever seen. A guard steps out as I pull up. Can I help you? I'm looking for Meadowbrook Academy. I'm a guidance counselor from No Visitors Allowed. His hand rests on his holstered taser. This is private property. I just need to confirm one of my students arrived safely. Maya Carter. His expression doesn't change. I don't have information about students. You need to leave immediately. But this is supposed to be a school. Where are the classrooms? Ma'am, his tone hardens. Leave now, or I'll call for backup and have you removed. This is your only warning. I leave, heart pounding, watching the cameras track my car in the rearview mirror until I'm back on the main road. That night, I pull every student file I can access. 3 other pregnant students transferred to Meadowbrook in the past 5 years. All straight A students. All from affluent families. All transferred suddenly after their first trimester. Zoe Williams was the first. 3 years ago, debate team captain with early admission to Columbia. I find her number through alumni records and call her. Hello? Her voice sounds wary. Zoe, this is Miss Chen from Westlake High. I'm sorry to bother you, but I'm trying to learn more about Meadowbrook Academy. You transferred there your senior year? Silence. Then, why are you asking about this? I have a student who just transferred there, Maya Carter. I'm concerned about— Stop. Her voice shakes. Don't call me again. Don't look for that place. Just stop. Zoe, please. I'm worried about Maya. What happened to you there? Nothing happened. Nothing. I have to go. Her voice drops to a whisper. They're still watching us. They're always watching. The line goes dead. Back at my computer, I find an email waiting in my inbox. No sender name. Cease your investigation immediately. Further inquiries will result in severe consequences. I can't sleep that night. By morning, I've decided to confront Harris again, demand answers about what's really happening at Meadowbrook. But when I arrive at school, my keycard doesn't work. The front office secretary looks uncomfortable as she explains, I've been placed on administrative leave, effective immediately. What? On whose authority? Principal Harris. He said it's a personnel matter. My office door has a new lock. Through the window, I can see my personal items have been boxed up. My computer is gone. Janet, what's going on? I ask the secretary. She won't meet my eyes. I'm sorry. I can't talk about it. As I'm leaving, Ellie from the English department slips me a thick manila envelope in the parking lot. I made copies before they cleared out your office, she whispers. Maya's complete file. There's something wrong here, Chen. Be careful. At home, I spread the contents across my kitchen table. Buried among the standard forms is something I've never seen before. Medical authorization forms signed by Maya's parents, permitting her participation in a specialized educational and health program run by something called the Meridian Institute. The language is vague, full of medical jargon about developmental research and biological donation. But one line stands out in terrible clarity. Parent, guardian hereby consents to all necessary procedures related to the management and harvesting of the subject's pregnancy. Harvesting, not delivering. Harvesting. My hands shake as I realize what I've stumbled into. This isn't about helping pregnant teens. This is something much darker, and Maya is trapped in the middle of it. I call Terrence's mother the next morning. Sandra Williams works in hospital administration at County General, and I'm hoping she can help me make sense of what I found. We meet at a coffee shop 30 minutes from school, where no one will recognize us. I've never heard of Meadowbrook Academy, she says, scrolling through her tablet. Her brow furrows as she types, and I've worked with every medical facility in a 100-mile radius. The paperwork claims it provides specialized medical care for pregnant students. Sandra shakes her head. It's not registered with the state medical board, not as a hospital, clinic, or even a wellness center. She looks up at me. Whatever this place is, it's not a legitimate medical facility. My stomach drops. But they're taking pregnant teenagers there, and that's what worries me. She lowers her voice. Listen, I can't officially help you with this, but off the record, this sounds like something illegal is happening. I spend the weekend tracking down Zoe Williams. After dozens of dead-end calls, I finally locate her at the community college 2 towns over. When I arrive at the campus, I spot her immediately, sitting alone on a bench, hunched over a textbook. She looks thinner than I remember, with dark circles under her eyes. Miss Chen? Her voice trembles when she sees me. I told you not to contact me. I know, Zoe. I'm sorry, but Maya needs help. She looks around nervously. Not here. Follow me. We walk to her car, where she checks the back seat before letting me in. Once inside, she turns to me with haunted eyes. I never had a baby, she whispers. They told my parents I delivered a stillborn, but that's not what happened. What do you mean? She pulls up her shirt slightly, revealing a long surgical scar across her lower abdomen. They sedated me for what they called a procedure. When I woke up, they said there were complications, that the baby didn't make it. Her voice cracks, but I heard them talking when they thought I was still unconscious. They said the harvest was successful, and the specimen was viable. My blood runs cold. Harvest? They took something from me. Her hands shake as she pulls her shirt back down. Not just the baby, something else. Something they needed. Back home, I dive into research. Coach Bradley's LinkedIn profile shows he worked at Fertility Futures Clinic for 8 years before coming to our school. The clinic closed after a scandal involving unauthorized experimental procedures, though Bradley was never formally charged. Digging deeper, I discover Nurse Dana's credentials were flagged 5 years ago for falsification, but somehow she got hired at our school anyway. The more I look, the more connections I find. A web linking Harris, Bradley, and Dana to a biotech company called Meridian Genetics. Meridian's website is sleek but vague, full of buzzwords about advancing reproductive science and pioneering fertility solutions. Their research papers mention experimental treatments using modified fetal stem cells, but the details are buried in technical language. At 2 a.m., an anonymous email arrives with financial records attached. The subject line reads, "Follow the money." The documents show wire transfers to the parents of each transferred student, all labeled as research stipends. Maya's parents received $75,000 3 days after. She disappeared. I drive past Maya's house the next day. A brand new Mercedes SUV sits in the driveway, the price tag still visible through the windshield. The house looks empty, blinds drawn tight. That night, I make the most reckless decision of my career. Using the spare key Ellie gave me years ago for emergencies, I enter the school after midnight. The hallways are dark and silent as I make my way to the administrative wing. Harris's office is locked, but the IT room next door isn't. I use the admin login information Ellie slipped me along with Maya's file. My hands tremble as I access the restricted network drive. What I find makes me physically ill. Security footage from the day Maya disappeared shows her being escorted to a black SUV by Coach Bradley and Nurse Dana. She's clearly struggling, trying to pull away as they force her into the back seat. The timestamp matches exactly when she was supposed to be in my office for our follow-up meeting. In another folder, I find encrypted emails between Harris and someone named Dr. Whitman, Meridian's CEO. They discuss specimens and successful extractions with clinical detachment. One message mentions Maya specifically. Subject MC17 shows optimal genetic markers. Proceed with extraction as soon as viable. I download everything I can onto a flash drive, my heart pounding so loudly I'm afraid security will hear it. Just as I'm about to leave, my phone buzzes. It's a text from Mark, my friend on the police force. Get out now. You're being watched. I shut down the computer and slip out the back entrance, keeping to the shadows. As I drive home, I notice a black sedan following at a distance. It stays 3 cars behind, never getting closer but never disappearing either. When I finally reach my apartment, Mark is waiting in the parking lot. His face is grim as he slides into my passenger seat. They've got cameras on your place, he says without preamble. They've been monitoring your phone, your internet, whatever you've stumbled into. Chen, it's big, and they're not going to let you walk away from it. What do? Disappear for a while. I've got a cabin upstate. No one knows about it. He hands me a burner phone and a set of keys. Don't use credit cards. Don't call anyone you know. And whatever you do, don't go back to that school. I clutch the flash drive in my pocket. I can't just abandon Maya. You can't help her if you end up like her. His eyes meet mine, or worse. As Mark leaves, I realize with terrifying clarity that I've crossed a line. There's no going back to my normal life. Not until I find Maya and expose what Meadowbrook really is. And somewhere in a facility with barbed wire and security cameras, Maya and other girls are waiting for someone to save them from the people who see them not as students, not even as humans, but as specimens to be harvested. After Mark leaves, I sit in my car for a long time, clutching the flash drive and wondering who I can trust. The answer feels like nobody and everybody at once. I need to find Maya, but first I need to understand what's happening to her. I drive to Maya's house the next morning, parking down the street to avoid being noticed. The new Mercedes is gone, but lights are on inside. I walk up to the door and ring the bell, heart hammering in my chest. Mrs. Carter opens the door, her face instantly hardening when she recognizes me. You shouldn't be here, she says, starting to close the door. I wedge my foot in the gap. Please, I just need to know Maya's okay. Mr. Carter appears behind his wife. Remove your foot from our doorway before I call the police. I know about the money, I say quietly. The $75,000 from Meridian. Their faces go pale simultaneously. Mrs. Carter glances nervously at her husband, who steps forward. Maya is happy at her special school, he says mechanically, like he's rehearsing lines. She's receiving excellent care and continuing her education. Have you spoken to her? Actually heard her voice? Mrs. Carter's eyes flicker with something doubt, guilt, before her husband answers. That's none of your concern. Maya is our daughter, not yours. I've seen the forms you signed, I press, about harvesting her pregnancy. Do you even know what that means? Mr. Carter's face darkens. Get off our property. Now. Any further harassment and we'll file a restraining order. We've been advised of our legal options. By who? Meridian's lawyers? I remove my foot but don't back away. They're not helping Maya. They're experimenting on her. The door slams in my face. Through the window, I see Mr. Carter on the phone, gesturing angrily. I hurry back to my car before whoever he's calling arrives. It takes 3 days of searching medical records and making calls from the burner phone before I find Elaine Kowalski, a nurse who worked at Meadowbrook for 8 months before quitting last year. She agrees to meet me at a diner 2 counties away where nobody knows either of us. Elaine looks over her shoulder constantly as she speaks, her coffee untouched. I thought it was legitimate at first, she whispers. They said they were helping pregnant teens continue their education while providing specialized medical care. The pay was incredible. When did you realize something was wrong? After the 3rd delivery. Her hands tremble. They weren't normal births. The girls were sedated heavily, their labor induced prematurely. The babies. She swallows hard. The embryos had been genetically modified during the 1st trimester. Special injections the girls received during their prenatal checkups. My stomach turns. Modified how? They were altering fetal development to create specialized tissue that wouldn't reject when transplanted into other people. She leans closer. Do you understand what I'm saying? They were creating designer babies for parts. And the mothers, the girls, told their babies were stillborn, given a small funeral service with an empty casket, then sent home after recovery with their research stipend. Her voice breaks. Some girls knew something was wrong. The ones who asked too many questions were kept sedated longer, given medications that affected their memory. What about Maya Carter? She transferred recently. Elaine shakes her head. I left before she arrived, but there's a secondary facility where they take the most promising subjects. It's more secure than Meadowbrook. I compile everything I have: Elaine's testimony, the security footage, financial records, Maya's authorization forms, and send it anonymously to the FBI through a secure drop site Mark helped me set up. I also meet with Vanessa Reyes, an investigative journalist who's exposed medical fraud before. She looks through my evidence with growing horror. This is bigger than you realize, she says. Meridian has government contracts, powerful investors. They'll bury this if they can. Will you publish it? Yes, but it will take time to verify everything, build a case they can't discredit. She copies my files. Stay hidden until this breaks. These people are dangerous. 3 days later, the school district announces that Principal Harris, Coach Bradley, and Nurse Dana have all accepted positions in different districts, effective immediately. The timing is too convenient to be coincidence. They're running. That night, my burner phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. 43, 2188, negative 75.4552. Tomorrow, noon. Come alone. Coordinates. I plug them into a map and find they lead to an abandoned hunting cabin in the woods, 3 hours north. It could be a trap, but it could also be Maya. I have to go. I arrive at 11:30, parking half a mile away and approaching on foot. The cabin looks deserted, windows boarded, roof partially collapsed. I circle it cautiously before approaching the door. Hello? I call softly, pushing the door open. Miss Chen? A familiar voice comes from the shadows. Maya steps forward, thinner than I remember, her face pale but her eyes clear and alert. Her pregnancy is more visible now, her hand resting protectively over her swollen belly. Maya! I rush forward, then stop myself from hugging her too tightly. Are you okay? What happened? I escaped during a transfer, she says, her voice hoarse. They were moving me to the secondary facility, the one where they do the final procedures. She pulls a folder from her backpack and hands it to me. Inside are medical charts, lab reports with her name at the top, full of technical language about genetic manipulation and viable tissue extraction. They modified my baby, she says, tears filling her eyes. They were going to take it and harvest parts. They've done it to others. There are 7 girls still at the secondary facility. We have to help them. I start to respond when Maya freezes, her eyes widening as she looks past me toward the window. They found me, she whispers. Through the dirty glass, I see 2 men in black tactical gear moving through the trees, Meridian security logos visible on their jackets. They're carrying what look like tranquilizer guns. Back door, Maya hisses, grabbing her backpack. We slip out the rear of the cabin and into the dense woods. I can hear the men shouting, calling for backup. Maya knows these woods. She's been hiding here for days and leads me through a ravine, across a shallow creek that masks our scent and footprints. My car's half a mile east, I whisper. They'll be watching it, she pants, one hand on her belly as she navigates the rough terrain. There's an old fire road that way. We can follow it to the highway. A tranquilizer dart thuds into a tree inches from my head. We run faster, ducking behind boulders and trees. Maya stumbles once, and I catch her before she falls. Her pregnancy makes her clumsy, vulnerable, but her eyes are fierce with determination. We reach the fire road just as a black SUV comes into view behind us. I pull Maya into the underbrush, holding my breath as the vehicle passes slowly, searchlights sweeping the trees. We have to get those girls out, Maya whispers when the SUV is gone, before they move them too. I nod, squeezing her hand. We will, but first we need to get you somewhere safe. As we make our way toward the highway, I realize we've crossed another line. We're no longer just investigating, we're rescuing. And Meridian won't stop hunting us until they've silenced everyone who knows the truth. The FBI raid happens at dawn. I watch from a half-mile away as black SUVs and tactical vehicles converge on the Meadowbrook facility. Agents in bulletproof vests swarming the property like ants. Maya sits beside me in the car, her hands protectively cradling her belly, her eyes fixed on the scene unfolding through binoculars. They're going in through the east entrance, she whispers. That's where the elevator to the underground wing is. We'd spent 3 days in a safe house after escaping Meridian's security team in the woods. 3 days of Maya documenting everything she'd experienced, every procedure they'd performed on her, every conversation she'd overheard. The FBI agent who took her statement, a woman named Reyes with kind eyes and a voice like steel, promised protection in exchange for her testimony. 7 girls, Maya says now, lowering the binoculars. 7 girls are still down there. The raid lasts 4 hours. We watch as agents bring out computers, medical equipment, and boxes of files. Then, finally, what we've been waiting for, young women in hospital gowns, escorted carefully to waiting ambulances. I count them as they emerge, blinking in the sunlight. 1, 2, 3, all the way to 7. Maya's count was exact. They got them all, I say, squeezing her hand. She nods, tears streaming down her face. But what did Meridian do to their babies? That question haunts us for weeks as the investigation unfolds. Maya testifies to a grand jury for 2 full days, describing in clinical detail how Nurse Dana administered special prenatal vitamins that made her dizzy and confused, how Coach Bradley conducted weekly physical assessments that involved drawing blood and taking tissue samples, how Principal Harris assured her parents that the specialized program would provide educational continuity while preparing her for an elite future. They never mentioned what they were really doing, Maya tells the jury, her voice steady despite the horror of her words. They were modifying our baby's genetic makeup to create specialized tissue for harvesting. They told us it was for our own good, for our baby's health, but they were creating designer embryos to sell. The arrests come in waves. First, Harris, Bradley, and Dana led away in handcuffs from their new positions in different districts. Then Meridian executives, including Dr. Whitman, the CEO who referred to pregnant teenagers as specimens in his emails. The woman in the expensive suit who met with Maya turns out to be Meridian's legal counsel, now facing charges for conspiracy and human trafficking. Other school districts across 3 states launch investigations, discovering similar counselor-facilitated transfers dating back nearly a decade. The pattern is always the same. Straight-A students with promising futures, sudden pregnancies, swift transfers to specialized academies that exist only on paper. We thought it was a prestigious opportunity, one mother sobs during a televised interview. They said Maya would receive personalized education while getting the best prenatal care. They showed us brochures of a beautiful campus with medical facilities. We believed them. The lawsuit filed on behalf of the victims reveals the full scope of the operation. Meridian was harvesting genetically modified embryonic tissue to sell to billionaire clients seeking experimental anti-aging treatments. The modified tissue, derived from the pregnancies of academically gifted teenagers, supposedly contained enhanced regenerative properties. They targeted high-achieving students specifically, the prosecutor explains during a press conference. They believed intellectual capacity had genetic markers that could be isolated and enhanced. When I returned to school after 3 months of administrative leave, the atmosphere is subdued. A new principal has been appointed, along with an interim nurse and athletic director. Students walk the hallways with wary eyes, trust shattered by the adults who were supposed to protect them. Maya returns 2 weeks later. Her pregnancy is now visible to everyone, but the whispers that follow her are different from those that typically trail pregnant teenagers. She's seen as a survivor, a whistleblower who saved others from a terrible fate. The school board board has granted her special accommodations to complete her senior year, including modified PE requirements and extended deadlines when needed. The baby's developing normally now, she tells me during our first counseling session back. They stopped the experimental treatments in time. She places her hand on her rounded belly. It's a girl. I'm keeping her. I'm formally reinstated as guidance counselor with a commendation from the school board for extraordinary courage in service to student welfare. The irony isn't lost on me. I nearly lost my job for doing exactly what it required. We form a support group for all the affected students. 17 girls across 3 states, ranging from current high school seniors to college sophomores, all carrying the physical and emotional scars of what Meridian did to them. Some, like Zoe Williams, are still struggling with the knowledge that their babies were taken from them under false pretenses. Others, like Maya, are determined to reclaim their futures. They stole our choices, Maya says during one session, but they can't steal our power to choose now. The months pass. Maya's belly grows as her due date approaches. She still aces her exams, still captains the debate team, still receives acceptance letters from Ivy League schools. But there's a new weight to her now, a gravity that comes from having seen the darkest side of humanity and survived it. When graduation day arrives, Maya walks across the stage, 8 months pregnant, her honor cords draped over her shoulders, her head held high. As valedictorian, she delivers a speech that leaves not a dry eye in the auditorium. Bodily autonomy isn't just a phrase in a textbook, she says, one hand resting on her belly. It's the fundamental right to determine what happens to your own body. A right that was stolen from me and others like me by people who saw us as vessels, not humans. Today, I reclaim that right not just for myself, but for my daughter. 3 years later, I sit in the back row of a first-year law school classroom, watching Maya deliver a presentation on bioethics and informed consent. Her daughter, Sophia, now a precocious toddler with her mother's sharp eyes and determined chin, sits quietly coloring in the front row. Maya catches my eye and smiles, the connection between us undiminished by time. I still counsel students at Westlake High, more vigilant than ever about the systems that might prey on them. Every pregnant student who passes through my office receives extra attention, extra care, extra assurance that their choices are their own. I keep a picture on my desk of Maya and Sophia at the hospital after birth, a reminder of what we fought for, what we won. Miss Chen? A voice pulls me from my thoughts. A new student stands in my doorway, her arms wrapped protectively around her middle. I need to talk to someone, I think. I think I might be pregnant. I smile gently and gesture to the chair across from me. Come in. Let's talk about your options. Real options. Your choices. Because that's what we fought for. After all, the right to choose.